Our longest trusted English newspaper since 1898. Now available digitally. Computer. Order the Manila Times Digital Edition. Subscribed. Get the Manila Times Digital Edition for less than 2 pesos and 50 centavos per day when you sign up for 1 year. The Manila Times, news source of choice, trusted since 1898.
Greetings, thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Saturday, April 23, 2022. For today's editorial, intervention needed to stop MMDA's madness. A commuter crisis that has been progressively worsening since the end of most pandemic restrictions earlier this year threatens to completely paralyze Metro Manila, and most of the blame for it can be laid at the feet of the Metro Manila Development Authority, or MMDA. On Monday, the MMDA abruptly announced that beginning Wednesday, April 20, provincial bus operators with their own terminals in Metro Manila would be prohibited from running any routes to or from those terminals between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. The move sent bus operators scrambling to change their timetables and inform their passengers that they would only be allowed to travel to or from the city during the nighttime hours. Furthermore, because these carriers use their own terminals, most are not registered to serve the integrated transport terminals established to collect provincial bus traffic and replace routes that once crossed the city. Thus, these lines have been forced to simply cut service for 17 hours of every day, at least temporarily, while they wade through MMDA's and the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Boards, or LTFRB's, notorious red tape. In a completely ridiculous and totally ineffective attempt to help commuters and long-distance travelers who suddenly found themselves stranded by yet another witless government decision, the previous one being the Department of Transportation's, or DOTR's, allowing 2 of the city's 3 light rail lines to shut down for maintenance on the last weekday before the Easter holiday. The MMDA mounted a free bus shuttle service between the transit terminals in Bukawi, Bulacan, Cubao, and Parañaque. It would not have to be pointed out to most people that replacing existing bus traffic with other bus traffic, only with more inconvenient routes, does absolutely nothing to reduce congestion, which was the apparent intent of the new bus window hours. But then again, most people do not work for the MMDA. This situation may become even more dire in a couple weeks' time because the MMDA is insisting that it will move forward with its plan to introduce 2-day per week number coding for private vehicles in the middle of next month. The new restrictions on bus travel simply remove one more option for motorists who will have to find alternative ways to get to work on 2 days a week instead of just 1. Perhaps the most infuriating revelation of all this is that the MMDA, which is responsible for traffic management, and the LTFRB, which is responsible for overseeing roadbound public transportation, did not coordinate at all before the issuance of new bus restrictions. In a series of progressively more ludicrous public explanations, the LTFRB at first said it was unaware of the MMDA's decision, and then said it was aware of it, but had no input in it. The MMDA, in response, at first said it had informed the LTFRB, and then later implied the decision actually came from the latter. As with most crises, this one demands both a short-term and a long-term solution. The short-term solution in this case is for an authority, perhaps the Metro Manila Council or the Office of the President, to intervene to put a stop to MMDA's madness. The commuting public and the economy that depends on them cannot continue to be burdened by arbitrary rules imposed suddenly and without proper analysis, consultation with affected stakeholders, or coordination with other agencies. The long-term solution is, as it has been for years, for the government to champion public transportation development and devote substantial resources and effort to it. Many of these solutions are of relatively low cost and complexity and can be developed quickly, while more intensive initiatives such as the badly needed expansion of the rail system are ongoing. These include creation of bus rapid transit or BRT lines, of which the EDSA busway is a crude but surprisingly effective example, making full use of the Pasig River for ferry service, accelerating and investing more in the jeepney modernization program so that it becomes financially attractive to operators, rather than an enormous and potentially unrecoverable cost, and expanding and improving bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. And that's the editorial for Saturday, April 23, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and listen to the voice of the Times.